My math generally starts at $1 million a month. That's my ideal target. So I overestimated my cost per lead, I underestimated the show rate, and I underestimated the close rate to realistically get the math on what it's gonna take to hit that million a month. The statistics being clear are what give you the certainty to take the risk. It's just a set of stats away. Hello gentlemen, welcome into the video. My name's Jeremy Haynes. Welcome in, it's a pleasure to have you. This video is gonna be awesome. I've taken one of my mastermind talks, an older one at that, from my Inner Circle group where we do our quarterly masterminds, one-on-one calls, weekly group calls, and our Telegram chat full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer, and I put it right here on YouTube for you. This is a very rare occasion. I don't like to miss my twice a week videos for you. And on my filming day most recently, I was having some migraines. And for all those out there who have migraines, I get them with aura symptoms. So on this particular day, I couldn't see a fucking thing. So therefore I couldn't film anything for you in a coherent way. So we went through, pulled out one of my favorite talks that I've done at a mastermind. For all those who are unfamiliar, since most of you are, in my Inner Circle group, we do these quarterly masterminds and we do them 4 times a year, thus quarterly. And we talk at a very high level. Almost all the people in this group are already at a couple $100,000 a month and they're trying to hit $1 million months. There's 15 of them that are already at $1 million months and trying to hit the next million. And we talk at a very high level here. This specific talk that I have pulled for you here today is a math talk that goes through kind of how to back into what you need to spend, what your KPIs need to be. It's scaling math. If you want to go big, this is the video for you. Of course, per usual, we don't make any income claims. You have a 0.1% probability of hitting $10 million a year, let alone the even smaller probability than that to hit $1 million months. However, in this talk, we talk about $1 million a month math. Again, no income claim telling you that you are gonna hit $1 million months, just a lesson to review today, and hopefully you can pick something up from it that can help you. Again, if you're new to the channel, my name's Jeremy Haynes. That's all we talk about around here is hitting $1 million months. If you get value from it, make sure you subscribe. Very excited to help you out. I hope that you enjoy it and it will give you a glimpse into what we do at some of our Inner Circle masterminds. So I hope you enjoy. Talk soon. Let me break this down for you before I articulate it in detail on the math side of things. It's pretty simple. In order to give a fuck about bigger numbers and to make those numbers achievable, we got to break down the actual math to let ourselves know what it takes in terms of volume to achieve those bigger numbers. Bigger numbers need to be broken down into smaller numbers and daily targets to become achievable. Make sense? Okay, to be clear, the first number you write down is very simple. It's the monthly big number. Okay, so I'll give you an example with my math. My math generally starts at $1 million a month. That's my ideal target, okay? Start with the big number. I want you to take a moment. What's your big number currently? And listen, don't be a pussy when it comes to the stepping stone goals. I do not want you to break down one of the numbers that's along the way. Like as an example, if I was trying to hit $1 million a month, the stepping stone goals would be 250K and 500K as examples. I do not want stepping stone goals written down. I want the big number that you're actually going after. Does that make sense? Okay, take a moment, write that down. Okay, everybody got the bigger number? Okay, now for me, when I first did the goal math, there was one really interesting thing that I figured out right away. And it was how fucked I was gonna be if I did it the way that I was currently doing it. Okay, so at the time, my average deal size was anywhere from about 8K to 12K a month. Okay, so I would average that out at 10K in this deal math example. If I went about, and you might need a calculator for this, by the way, for some of this stuff. Try not to get distracted by your phone when you do it. But as an example, if I wanted to hit $1 million a month and I was only charging $10,000, I would need 100 people in order to hit that $1 million. So once again, if $10,000 was what I was charging, it was gonna take 100 clients, customers, whatever you wanna call them, in order for that number to be possible. What this exposed right away for me in the way that I was doing business was that would be a fucking nightmare, okay? To have 100 people individually paying 10K a month in the way that I was specifically delivering services at the time would have just made my life hell. It would have been very stressful, would have been too much to handle, it would have been a life that I didn't really want to live. Does that make sense? So immediately upon seeing how I was currently doing things, I understood something very clearly. I didn't want to do it that way. So therefore, it became very clear to me that the path I was going down was not going to be the path that made the most sense to hit that target. I could have figured that out, if you think about it, halfway along the way, reactively running into it, and then I would have had to scale back, adjusted, to then go forward again. Does it make sense?
Yes.
What I then learned through this, which is very important, this is where I started to define my initial goals of how I wanted my agency to run, was, okay, if I wanted to work with 10 people, 10 people was much more ideal for me in comparison. 10 people, I was already making people $1 million a month, and I thought to myself, I think it's very fair that somebody would give me 10% of that if I made them $1 million, right? Seemed justifiable to me and very realistic. And I determined 10 people was a much better quality of life for me in comparison to 100 people, a 90-person difference. The business model would be completely different. Every individual day would be completely different. 100% difference in life quality based on this one decision and thinking of it ahead of time before pursuing the goal aggressively. Does that make sense? So I want you to take a moment real quick. Based on what you're currently doing, it's very important you understand this. It's the average, okay? What is the average of what you make right now per deal or per customer? Start with that number real quick and just write that down. What is the average amount of money that you collect per deal right now? And remember, these are monthly numbers. So the amount you cash collect in your account in a month per customer. Take a moment. And to be clear, look, you might guess because you don't actually know. Be conservative if you're going to guess. Don't overestimate it because, once again, overestimation is going to fuck up the math for you. Take 30 seconds. So as an example, let's say you regularly sell something for $5,000. I'll get a client that says something like, oh yeah, we charge 5K. So you might think that's the number you write down. But in reality, I'm like, well, what's the actual amount they cash collect on a sales call, factoring in payment plans and things like that? And then they're like, oh yeah, that number is $3,700. And that $1,300 difference makes a substantial difference for the quantity of people that have to be sold to make the bigger number achievable. Does that make sense? So once again, don't write down what you charge. Write down the amount you actually cash collect on average. Does that make sense? Everybody have that number? Okay, now to be clear, simple math. Take out your calculator. You're going to divide the big number by what you actually cash collect currently. And then you're going to write that number down because that's the amount of people you actually need to sell to in order to make that number achievable. Does that make sense? So big number divided by the amount you cash collect equals the amount of people you have to sell to. So now you should have 3 numbers written down after you do this math. The big number, the amount you cash collect on average in a month per customer, and then the amount of customers you're going to need to sell to hit the bigger number. Go ahead and take a few seconds. Good to see you, Vic. Does everybody have that written down? Does anybody need more time? Okay, to be clear, is anybody shocked by that number? Does it seem realistic? Here's what I want you to then write down next, okay? One word, unrealistic or realistic? Take a moment. Unrealistic or realistic? So once again, for me as an example, the way mine would look, this was unrealistic. I didn't like that. So when I did this, this was very realistic. I thought to myself, I'm like, listen, as crazy as that might sound to others, I viewed it as very possible, probable, and within my capacity to accomplish. Versus, I want you to think of this as well when you think of the unrealistic versus realistic. Because remember how I interpret it and how I broke it down for you. Quality of life, okay? How the number changes impacts your day-to-day and your business, the type of business, the amount of people you need to hire, the amount of marketing that you need. Okay, all this changes dramatically based on what that number is. Does that make sense? Factor that into your answer. Okay, real quick. I want you to raise your hand if you wrote realistic. If your number's currently realistic, raise your hand. So 2 of you. What's your number?
All of it?
Yeah, 3 numbers. Big number, amount you currently are cash collecting, amount you need to sell to hit the big number.
1.5 a month.
Okay.
500 average cash collecting. So 5
Yep.
430 receipts.
Got it. Okay, now to be clear, I want you to keep that 430 in mind for the next thing we're about to talk about. Ben, what's yours?
Mine's kind of like a little weird.
It shouldn't be weird. It should be 3 numbers, Ben. It's really simple. Big number, the amount you currently cash collect in a month, and then to be clear, the amount of people you need to sell to hit the big number.
So I want to hit 100,000 sure monthly revenue or sure monthly profit just from the low ticket.
Yeah.
And that'll be a delta of 400 people to about 300 people.
Got it. What's weird about that?
I'm saying it's weird just like with the numbers because like I have annuals and I have monthlies, but I'm just counting the monthly subscriptions.
Nothing weird about that at all. Wrestling gators naked is weird, okay? That's not weird, okay? To be clear, the rest of you then, it's all unrealistic? Okay, what makes the number unrealistic?
I can't do one-on-one calls with 65 people a month.
Okay, bingo. Now to be clear, for the unrealistic crowd, I want you to put a little section, like off to the side, why, and then list the reasons. Why is it unrealistic? Okay, I want you to listen to a few prior to doing this. If a few come to mind right away, feel free to rip them off. But when I call on you, I want you to make sure you say something out loud so you can share with everybody some perspective. Is that the only reason, Andrew?
Basically, yeah.
So to be clear, you just can't do one-on-one calls with that amount of people.
Not one-on-one, just realistic.
Now what's that make clear right away?
I need to charge more.
Well, it's an offer change. Or you can charge more, right? One or the other. I'm sure there's other solutions. What's your reasons?
Can't fulfill
Okay, why?
because I don't have enough people to fulfill on all those clients.
So staff issue.
Yeah.
Bingo, okay? Now to be clear, there's a very important follow-up category to this, okay? So when you have your whys for the unrealistic folks, I want you to pair right next to those whys the solution to them. So as an example, if I have a why right here, I want a solution right here to that why. If you fail to answer with a solution, that's good, not bad. It means you don't know what the fuck you're doing yet, and this is why you're here. We can help you out with that. Now, to be clear, for the realistic crowd specifically, I want to get these people real quick from unrealistic to realistic, and then we're going to move to the next number. So bear with me for about 2 minutes. Nick, why is yours unrealistic?
One, I just cannot work with 100 agency clients, and the solution for that is 10, which we do have. I just need to get more pressure to get up.
That's right. Or what's it currently exposed that you're doing? So for me, when this number became clear to me, okay, of 100 people, you know what I thought to myself? I thought, fuck that. You know, I was like, I had 27 staff at the time, 3 offices. I fucking hated that shit. I was like, this is terrible. How much more staff would I have to have? You know? What would be the point? Well, the point for me was, well, I could exit from it. There's a higher probability to exit from that type of model, contracted recurring revenue without rev share, versus the rev share route was very different. The rev share route is not sellable because they don't really factor in rev shares, but this is actually a really good thing that I learned, thankfully, in hindsight, which was I make what I would have gotten paid in a lump sum on like a semi-annual basis. You know, so like every 6 months what I would have gotten in an exit, or maybe a little bit less than what I would have gotten in an exit, every 8 months I'm making what I would have got anyway, you know? But I get to make that in perpetuity as long as I maintain the model. So that was far more valuable to me in comparison to the exit route. That further sold me on the change, okay? So to be clear, when you look at the whys for why it's fucked up, you then have to look at the solution, and you have to add an additional category or just take mental note on the selling point, okay? So for me, the selling point to the change, you're not gonna just make the change without a reason to make the change, okay? So there's, like I said, this is either a mental note. This for me was really obvious, but I want to be fair in saying during this exercise, I've done it a few times throughout the years. Sometimes it's not mentally obvious for some reason, for like why, like once again, the specific reasoning for why you need to implement the solution. But this is like the sell yourself category. I'm going to label it once again the reason. And it's the same logic. You're pairing the reason with the solution for why you would actually do it. So as an example, you got to sell yourself on having more staff. You got to sell yourself that you could charge more and why you're going to be worth charging more. Like when I made the change and I thought to myself, I could charge 100 G's in a month, there was a new level of certainty and confidence that was bred into me as an individual, okay? Immediately upon thinking, I'm gonna get people to pay me 100 grand a month, my confidence and certainty levels changed dramatically. You're an advertiser, what do you charge? Yeah, you see, you look at a guy like me. I have a client that paid me $202,000 last month. I worked 4 hours in the month. I advertised. What do you think about that? Yeah, it's nice. You know what else it is? It's fucking awesome. You know the difference between you and I? I think I can get paid that amount. You think you can get paid whatever you get paid right now. That's the only difference. I got convicted that I could get that. And then there was a whole other set of reasons that followed. My quality of life would dramatically change. The things I could buy could drastically change. The amount of time I could work could drastically change. I hated a lot of staff. I could work with less staff. That could change. That'd be a positive impact. It's a whole list of very positive reasons that followed after. You get what I'm saying? So my point being, the why you are currently viewing what you're doing as unrealistic, the solutions to those things, and the reasons that pair with them. Does that make sense? Ben, why is yours unrealistic?
I already did it. Bring on a bigger team, better clients, or switch to like a done with model.
Yeah, and look at your lifestyle. I mean, you're fucking lifestyle Ben over here. You know, like Mr. You got what, 9/11? How old are you?
23.
So you're 23, got a 9/11 already. You live in downtown Miami. You go to dinner every night with Mason and all your bros. You know how many times a week are you on a boat? You know, or a plane or something. It's like, you see what I mean? So it's like, think to yourself, is that the path you want to go down? Or think to yourself once again, is that set of tweaks that you wrote down? So what's your solution list? Does your solution list take you to a place where the reasons make sense for what you actually want? Or does the solution list not align to the reason list? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it or does not?
One of the solutions, which would be better clients, rather than having to get $50,000, $10,000 clients.
Yeah.
So 500K on one client or 10, 50K on one client.
Right, realistic, right?
Yeah.
Doable, right?
Yeah.
Right, and aligns more to what I'm sure you want. You see? And to be clear, once again, you're standing in front of a guy who's already proven that out over the last, I don't even fucking know how long it's been, 7 years now? So the point being, it's not only possible, it's very probable. Make sure the reasons align with the solutions. Because sometimes the reasons to implement a particular solution, you can look at it and say, I don't know, I mean, that sounds pretty fucked up. It's not a good reason for me. I don't like it as much as the other reasons that I have listed. Does that make sense? So the reason, all this needs to align. You get what I'm saying? Okay, to be clear, what you have written now, does it transition you from unrealistic to realistic? Or, once again, is there still some type of math change that needs to occur? Change the math. My solution category led me to this. 10 clients, 100K. Those three numbers, $1 million a month, 100,000 a deal, 10 clients. That math changed for me from unrealistic to realistic. Did your adjustment in your math change your answer from unrealistic to realistic? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who did it not change it for? Anybody? So everybody's realistic now. Yeah? Okay, good. We continue on. To be clear, let's use Mason's example. How many clients do you say you need? 430. 430? Okay. So if you're at 430 people, and that's per month. Okay, to be clear, how are you getting these people in right now? What's the conversion mechanism? Webinar, call funnel?
Just not like all organic, straight to IDP, DM, Instagram, or like straight to sell.
So you want to be very particular with the steps here, okay? And it's okay if there's more than one way that they come in. It doesn't just have to be one way. But I want you to understand what you're saying here because there's steps for each one of these things. Let me give you an example, okay? If I just broke this down to a call funnel, I have 430 people. The close rate would be the first step I would have to factor in because that's the last step that converts the 430 people, right? So to be clear, a step down from that is my close rate. So let's use the example that I have. What's your current close rate when you have a sales team? Anything? Do you have a sales team?
Yeah,
Say it again?
Like
40 to 50?
Yeah.
What's it exactly?
It hovers kind
Give me an average.
of 45.
Okay, so to be clear, if we have a 45% close rate, we need 956 people getting to the point where they talk to a closer. Does that make sense? So we need 956 people on the phone. Okay? And this factors in a 46, you said 46 or 45? Okay. So this factors in a 45% close rate. Okay? Now to be clear, what's the step that comes before that? No, show rate. You see? Each individual step has to be factored in. So when we look at the show rate, what's your show rate to calls?
Like 60.
60% of people will show up? Okay, so if we have a 60% show rate, okay, now we're going to take that 956, we're going to divide it by 0.6 for the 60% show rate, okay? So 956 divided by 0.6, 1,593 calls have to be scheduled. 1,593 calls need scheduled. How many calls are you getting right now in a month?
Like 550, 60.
550?
A month, yeah.
So the math there is pretty simple, thankfully, right? You're about a third of the way there. Does that make sense? What's your current cost per call? Or you're organically doing everything?
I mean, up until like last month, it's all organic. Now, I didn't know it was that.
So you don't know? Problematic, no?
I was, yeah.
Is the organic consistent?
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
So how much, in terms of call volume, does organic produce month over month without fail?
The revenue,
In terms of call volume?
that's what it would be around like,
The 500? So paid doesn't do anything for you right now.
what we just started.
Got it. So barely anything, negligible. Okay, so watch this. Thankfully you got about a third of your goal already accomplished by organic. Okay, and you claim it's like clockwork. Okay? That means you need, in your case, about, we'll call it 1,053 calls extra per month. Okay? That you need from somewhere else, right? So where are those going to come from? Those are likely to come from paid in this case, yeah?
And I
So-
think I could definitely be doing more on organic. Like I can probably scale that up too. So that number I expect to go up a little bit, the organic number.
Yep.
But it's mostly paid.
So watch this, okay? If once again, in Mason's particular case, 500 of these 1,593 are already covered by organic. Once again, we're going to say that 1,053 need to come from paid advertising, so we can have a cost per call factored into this whole thing. An average cost per call, okay? Tell me if you guys agree. Let's call it 150. You think Mason could get a cost per call for 150 or less? Advertisers in the room, yes or no? Yeah? Okay, to be clear, if we had 1,053 calls times $150 cost per call, Mason would need to spend $157,950 on ad spend with these stats: a 60% show rate, a total of a 45% close rate, and he would hit his 430 per month. However, those stats would have to hold. Do you think your paid advertising efforts are going to produce 60% show rates and 45% close rates, or you think there'll be a variance?
It'll probably be a little lower. Quality would be so low.
There could be a variance though. Quality is also always good and your stats are always the highest when you're not at scale. 157,000, you could consider yourself at scale. So here's the point I'm attempting to make, and it's very simple, okay? Mason's goal math, based on this current set of statistics holding, is a measly 157K in ad spend a month away from happening. Does that make sense? Very achievable. He's 1/3 of the way to the target, okay? So to be clear once again from here, what we then factor into the goal math is our cost to get this amount of people, okay? So in this particular case, our cost is a cost per call, And if we factored in, once again, $150 cost per call, we then only need to spend about 157K, assuming, once again, that we only are responsible for generating 1,053 calls. Obviously, if Mason's business didn't exist organically, the number would be quite different. The 1,593 times 150 would be a total of 238,950. You see the difference there? So if Mason's organic business ever takes a shit where that guy keeps hating on him and he doesn't respond properly, his ad spend difference changes to $258,000 instead of $157,000, since a third of his current goal math is covered by organic. Does that make sense? Okay, to be clear, same math for a webinar, just different stats. Okay? Same math for video pitches, just different stats. You get what I'm saying? Same math for DM strategies, just different stats. Do you get what I'm saying? So to be clear, I want you to take a moment, I want you to do your goal math. It's a reverse engineered number. Okay? Look at this, step by step. The number of people that you need to sell per month is at the top. It's then followed by whatever the next step is. So in this case, once again, if it's a call funnel, it starts with the close rate. Okay? If you're doing a call funnel, it's followed by the show rate. If we have a call funnel, it's then followed by our cost per call and then our ad spend. If I have a webinar as an example, I have the number of people that need to close. Let's use the example I'm pitching straight on the webinar. Okay? No closers. Well, in that case, I still have the close rate. I have the show rate. I have my cost per registration. And then I have my ad spend. Okay? If I'm doing video pitches, I have the quantity of people I need to close. I have my close rate. I have my appointment show rate. I have the quantity of people that's scheduled with me in the first place out of my total video pitches. I have my response rate. And then I get to my count of how many I need to send. And there's no cost to that, of course. Does that make sense? Once again, take 2 minutes real quick, do your goal math. Get excessively clear on this, because this is the most important part. Ideally, you are conservative with your statistics. So as an example, in Mason's math, I would not factor in a 45% show rate if that's what he's getting organically. Because if your advertiser isn't doing content advertising strategies to replicate the organic sales process, you will have a difference in the statistics because they're coming from a different frame into the call process. So you're probable to have a lower show rate and a lower close rate. Be conservative with that other 1,000 people you need to get on calls. And if you claim you could kick up organic, well, it's not kicked up right now. So as an example of conservative math, you don't factor in make-believe shit. You factor in based on, well, right now, once again, you're 157K away if that math sticks. Does this make sense? Does anybody have any questions on their goal math while they're doing it? Is anybody stuck? Is anybody already done? Are you done?
I mean, for me, it's just getting more clients to pay out a rev share. They all rev share. I just need to get the rev share paid out now.
Well, to be clear, there's a very simple thing here. You think right now you can get around the math. Okay? You think it's as simple as, well, I just need to charge rev share. But how many people you got to pitch, Nick? How many people do you got to get on calls? How many people have to close on those calls? Have you ever done rev share?
Yeah, all of our clients.
How many people are actually paying you the amount you're trying to get paid?
Like only 10 to 20%.
So there's more math right there. So you close X amount of people, you still have then only 10 to 20% that are actually probable to hit the target. Did you do that math?
No,
Do the fucking math.
I was looking at it more from the perspective of half the clients now it's just what numbers do they need to get paid for us to get notification each month.
So to be clear, just based on the current numbers, once again, not make-believe, you hear what Mason said, right? Is it good advice to say to Mason, oh yeah, dude, don't worry. You could get your numbers up organically, dog? That's sick, bro. Just go ahead and factor in that another third are gonna just magically appear from you kicking up organic, dude. Is that good? Do the math. Write it down. Because to be clear, you don't want to do the math on what is not currently happening. You want to do this initial math on reality, on what's the stats today. Because guess what? That is the level of potential that you have currently actualized on. Could you get bigger? Yeah, obviously. Could it get better? Yeah, obviously. But what is it today? Because today's math is what makes it real for you to then turn around and have absolute certainty on for what it needs to be to happen today. Does that make sense? Could I live in fairy tale land and say, oh, every deal I do is just gonna fucking, they're all gonna hit $1 million a month net, dude? No. It's like, has that number improved through time? Fuck yeah. Have I done the math differently as it's become different through time? Yeah. But what's best, once again, to do today? How it currently is now, right? Because guess what? There's leverage in that stat. Like, Mason, you're gonna have to spend a difference of, dude, if you fuck up with those 500 people that you're already converting right now into calls every month, you realize there's a difference of damn near $100,000 in additional spend, right? If you fuck up and only continue producing 10 to 20% of your total clients into the level of rev share you want, you know what that really means? That means you're gonna have 80 to 90% of your clientele that you're either gonna have to fire or have other staff handle so you can put your attention on the 10 to 20% that actually matter. There's also leverage in that statistic that reveals to you that your hit rate of scaling a client to the level that actually pays you for your math is a measly 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. So you can pretentiously say, oh, well, I'm fucking teaching people on YouTube all day how to advertise. I got my new book coming out teaching people to advertise, Jeremy. I know what the fuck I'm doing. But it's like, Nick, 10 to 20% of your deals are hitting their level of fucking money where you get paid your goal. Do you not see how much more improvement is in that statistic? Mason, you say you could get more fucking organic people through the door. Why haven't you? There's a level of potential there that can be actualized on, correct? For everybody else in the room, do you see what I'm saying about that stat of how important it is based on the math? You could technically cut your $157K that you need to put towards paid ad spend right now in a month down to like 40 to 60 if you actually manage to step it up organically more and get another 1/3 of that current number of 1,500 calls per month. You could get another 500 from organic, you'd save yourself a good 100K a month. That's an extra 100K to go on fucking jets or whatever the fuck you want to do. Carbone, you know, think of all the food you could buy. You see what I mean? That's a better penthouse, you know, right? You got a new view, think about going up higher. You know what I mean? That's the difference, is you either get the helicopters or you don't. You see, you either fucking step up and become an even better advertiser, right? An even better agency owner, or you fucking stay with the stats currently to achieve the goal how it currently is. So there's two things here once again. The realistic expectation of what it's gonna take for how things are today, okay? You walk out of this literal room into the kitchen, pound some steak and fish, whatever the fuck you're gonna eat, and you now know, I'm 157K away. You know, I'm fucking X amount of clients away from getting the fucking number, okay? I'm X amount of video pitches away. I'm X amount of fucking webinar registrants away. I just got a new client. She normally gets about 10,000 to 12,000 people a month to register for a webinar. She wanted to hit via paid advertising $1 million a month. The little shit advertiser she's been working with has only got her to 200 to 300K a month via paid ads. Organically, this lady sweeps $1 million a month every month. I looked at that account and I said, Jesus Christ, this is the easiest thing to get to $1 million a month in history. This is gonna be like Barry Bonds, peak steroids, bases loaded, grand slam guaranteed, okay? I'm on the juice right now. And I thought to myself, easy, lay down deal. And it's just simple math. This is all I did. I said, okay, she wants to make $1 million a month. She's only done 200 to 300K a month. It's pretty much all off of this one monthly event. At most, paid advertising has contributed 5,000 people to that event. So just do the math with me real quick. If I got that paid registrants count to 15,000, I would go from 200,000 in revenue to 600,000 in revenue. If I got it to 25,000 registrants, I could logically get the $1 million a month within the first month of action, right? This lady last month, she spent upwards of 120K on paid ads. She only made 200 to 300 to be clear. Terrible ROAS, terrible ROAS. She should be doing much better. I thought to myself, she had cost per register of about 10 bucks. Okay, here's how simple this math became. I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, first of all, if I started from the top and worked my way down, if I spent $120,000 and I had a $10 cost per registrant, I'd only get 12,000 people. I need 25,000 people at least. So I told the lady, I said, listen, this might be a little uncomfortable for you, but you seem like the kind of lady that wants to do big things fast. Okay, we got two options. We either take this route, which is a little more conservative, we'll prove what I'm saying is right, or we just roll the fucking dice here, you take a gamble, and we go for 25,000 registrants from paid ads this time. But you're gonna have to spend like 250 grand. And she was like, yeah, go ahead. You know how many paid registrants I'm at right now within 2 weeks of launching those ads? Somebody guess.
30,000.
No, I haven't achieved the goal yet, but I'm mathematically on pace to achieve it. I'm at a little over 14,000 right now, okay? I will absolutely achieve, because all my statistics are in line, the 25,000, okay? And I'm not getting shit registrants. The best part is, believe it or not, she gets anywhere from 20 to 40 million organic impressions a month. And I'm just retargeting the shit out of those people. I'm not even doing cold advertising. The probability of these people to close is very high. I'll get 25,000 people to register for this by next Wednesday, based on the mathematical pace I'm currently at. If the show rate, okay, her show rate historically, 20%. I factored it in with 15%. Her close rate historically is about 7%. I factored it in with 5%. She will hit $1 million a month with my conservative statistics. Does that make sense? So I overestimated my cost per lead, I underestimated the show rate, and I underestimated the close rate to realistically get the math on what it's going to take with a little bit of room for error on each statistic to hit that $1 million a month. Do you see how easy it is in this case to mathematically hit that goal when I am clear of each individual statistic for what it needs to be to achieve the target? And I also give it a little bit of wiggle room, down or up, to be a little more conservative. Do you see what I'm saying? Does it make that lady that much more confident to invest almost everything she made last month via paid ads into her new advertiser's gamble? The statistics being clear are what give you the certainty to take the risk. Does that make sense? It's just a set of stats away. That's all I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? Is it clear? Does anybody's math not make sense to you? Is the math you've written down realistic? Do you need to make any adjustments to it real quick? Anybody? Okay, to be clear, not every business is just cut and clean with, I can spend 258K and generate 430 sales off of that. This would be an example of him hitting his larger financial target with only one specific way of generating those customers. Okay, so here's the next part of this whole lesson, which is how can you make the number even more realistic than it already is? Additional income streams is the answer to that specific question. So for me, once again, my $1 million a month, I really wanted it all to just come from the advertising agency, and I really only wanted it to come from these 10 clients. But I thought to myself, I'm like, dude, we do consulting deals all the time right now, you know? And I don't mind doing consulting deals. They take 4 hours a month. I'm happy to work 4 hours a month. But I gotta adjust how I get paid on them. So I thought to myself, I'm like, well, okay, if I wanted to contribute something in addition to the $1 million a month to make that more realistic, I thought to myself, I'm like, I could do 200K a month in consulting deals. I think that's realistic. I just might need to adjust my pricing a little bit so I could do less consulting deals and get paid more. Interestingly enough, the number was, I thought, actually under what I should charge. So here's what I thought to myself. I said, okay, if I did a total of 10 consulting deals and there was 4 hours per deal, somebody want to yell out the number for how many hours that is per month? 40, right? So if I had 40 total hours in the month, okay, and there's 4 weeks in the month, that's only 10 hours per week that I have to put towards consulting deals. if I did 10 total consulting deals with 1 hour calls once a week. Does that make sense? So there's 10 total hours of time per week. I typically take those calls 5 days a week. Okay? So that would mean out of the 5 days a week I'm willing to take consulting calls, that 2 hours per day would go towards consulting calls. Does that make sense? I then asked myself the simple question. I said, can I do 2 hours a day worth of consulting calls without lowering my quality of life? Yes or no? And I said, yeah, fuck yeah, I can do that. Like, I love talking to people about making more money, you know? Easy enough. So then guess what? It became really simple. I was like, I want to hit 200K with the consulting deals to contribute to the million a month. So I just took 200,000, I divided it by 10. So 20K a month is what we wanted to charge for a consulting deal. Okay? To be clear, at the time, I was charging about $7,500 to $10K a month for a consulting deal. So I didn't feel like that was that big of a jump at all. Because keep in mind, I went from 10K a month to 100K a month in that math. I went from $7,500 to 10K a month to 20K a month. So that one felt even easier and even more realistic in terms of, okay, I need a total of 20 people that are going to pay me 20K a month. Or I need 10 people that are going to pay 20K a month. Does that make sense? So I want you to understand something. Once you do the goal math, even if it seems so obvious, like to me as an example, this is so cut and dry clean. I would seriously, like if I was Mason, I looked at that math, I'd be like, you're telling me I'm 258K away from my goal. I would just do that. But what I would also do is I would say to myself, okay, if I'm that in belief that this can work and it's that cut and dry, how could I increase the probability even greater than that, that this number, what's this number equal to? What's the goal math number on this one, Mason? 1.5 in a month? So as an example, what if 500K of that had to come from something else? Do any ideas just come top of mind? Let's say $500,000 needed to come from consulting deals. Think about it like this. The mastermind, you're probably thinking of your students. You're probably thinking of something like this. What about a mastermind for people that are in business that want to have their own in-house copywriting team, or they already have their own in-house copywriting team? What would those people be willing to pay to make X amount of dollars on the other side of it? Businesses are typically worth more to you as a business than individuals, right? That could be. I'm just giving you some ideas here. I'm saying you need 500K, let's say, per month that comes from something. In this example that you provided, you have to sell 430 people every month, don't you? What's 430 times 12? And don't make it up. So you have to sell 5,160 people per year. Okay? What sounds easier? And so $500,000, how many people you think you could work with that you could train their entire copywriting staff on, like businesses? What's the number? So 500,000, so take 500,000, first of all, 25K a year, divide that by 12. That's super cheap, by the way. Look, you're used to charging people $3,500. I'm used to charging people a fuckload more than that. You're sitting here right now for 24K a year. You know? You can't do better than this? You're telling me a business isn't going to pay you more money, Mason? To train their fucking copywriting staff. Do you know how much money? As an example, if I come in and I teach Nick's guy how to advertise like a fucking G, okay, and I teach him how to do the real shit, think about this. How much more money is that worth to Nick? Think it's worth a measly whatever the fuck he pays for the inner circle per year? No, that's why I don't train his advertiser for what he pays to be in the inner circle per year. If Nick wanted to do that, I would charge him a consulting client. I would be like, yeah, I'll do it for a consulting client cost. Because guess what? If I made Nick, okay, if I charged Nick, take 20K times 12. You're telling me I can't make Nick a measly two? Nick, what's your rev share client on average pay you? He's going to make off one fucking deal what I charge him per year if I did a consulting client on that relationship. You see what I'm saying? And you're telling me it's not fair? You don't think it's probable I get him at least like, I don't know, 3 fucking clients out of that? I'm going to get him a lot more money off teaching his advertiser what to do. You're telling me, as a person who teaches copywriting, that you don't see the value in what you teach, where it's just an obvious I could charge people a fuckload of money, Mason. I could charge people a fuckload, obvious amount of money to me where I know they would make so much more on the other side of it. You don't have a number like that in your head?
Not for that.
See what I'm saying? This is why this math is important. You need an extra 500K a month. 500K a month divided by something realistic. Say you charge 10K a month, which is cheap. You'd be devaluing yourself if you only charge 10K a month. But you give yourself some leverage against the little baby fish like Benjamin, you know what I mean? So 10K a month, 500K divided by 10,000, what is it? 50? So you think 50 people, how many customers do you have in total right now?
In the high two, yeah.
Total. So you think you can't get 50 people, divide 50 by 8,000.
50 by 8,000.
Yep, divide 50 by 8,000. Point what? Move the decimal 2 places to the right, that's the percentage. What's the percentage? So you can't get 0.6% of your total fucking amount of people that give you money to give you $10,000 a month. You can't get a measly 50 people, 0.6% to pay you $10,000 a month. You need 50 people like that. You don't think that's possible? You don't think you can make those people more money than that? Because guess what it would do if you did? It would contribute 500K. It would contribute a third of your revenue goal with only 50 people per month, by the way. So instead of having to close 5,160 per year, you now only have to close 50 over the entire year that ideally you close sooner than later, so they start paying you monthly and you hit that 500K sooner. You need 50 fucking people, dude. What's that do to you when you respond to Benjamin? Thickens your nuts a bit, doesn't it? You see? You see what I'm saying? So, dude, that's what I'm talking about. You can make that number of 1.5 mil that much easier with only 50 folks paying you 10K a month. But yet when you're focused only on this is its own business model. The 50 a month is its own business model, right? The 50 a month wouldn't complicate your life, would it? Is it worth 500K a month? Is it really?
Yeah, if it was going to be that.
See what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is, for me as an example, I thought to myself, I'm like, dude, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, consulting deal, 200K a month. I could ball with that. You know, it seems realistic. Could I get those people to pay me 20K a month? Fuck yeah, I could. And you know how I sold myself on it? By what I just did. I just went through it. I'm like, what could I make somebody that pays me that amount of money? Could I make them more than 240 a year? Because that's all that matters. Do you get what I'm saying? You charge what you charge. Your rate is your rate based on what it is currently doing for the person who's buying it. If I am able to charge, once again, 100K a month to an individual, it's because I'm making them far more than 100K a month. I had one of my buddies, I won't say his name out of respect for him because I think he's a retard for doing this. There's a hypnotist that's in Los Angeles, okay? I disagree with this guy's methods. I don't advocate for this guy, so I won't say the hypnotist's name either. It's not my hypnotist. This guy charges $1 million a year to be your hypnotist. He has a dozen people that pay him $1 million a year. One of my friends was one of these people. He was paying the guy $83,000 a month to be his on-demand hypnotist. What does $83,000 from a hypnotist make you in a tangible way is my question. You know how almost all of us in here are judged by trackable to us revenue when we work with folks? And you're charging less than a hypnotist that is not tracked by tangible revenue. And you don't think you could charge 10 G's a month to 50 people for something that trackably makes them more money than that? Doesn't make much sense, does it? So I look at shit like that too. I look out there and I say to myself, I'm like, dude, 20K a month, actual trackable results, dude, easy revenue, easy 200K a month I deserve. Now to be clear once again, the point I bring this up doesn't have to be a bunch of one-on-one calls, okay? It could be something else. It could be something higher level. So to be clear, it's very simple. It's like Mason, as an example, thinks to himself, okay, I'm charging $3,800 my average cash collected. Could I charge $10K a month? What would I have to teach people to make them that amount of money? You saw the shock. Did you guys gauge that too? Almost the shock of, you think I could charge people $10,000 for teaching copywriting? Did you pick that up? Think about it. See his reaction? You have to really sell yourself on these things. It can't be shock. Like it can't be, well, I have to make people more money. It has to be an obvious, this is how I'd make them more money. That part has to be obvious in order to take that action and add that revenue stream. Does that make sense? It can't be questionable. So my point being, when you consider the secondary revenue sources or even the third revenue sources that you can add to what you're doing, it has to be obvious. Does that make sense? When you look at it, it's a no fucking brainer. You get what I mean? I looked at the consulting deal, I said, no fucking brainer. Absolutely, I'm doing that shit. Okay? I looked at the inner circle as an example for my education company. I said, no fucking brainer. Obvious win for everybody. I look at my education products. When I raised them up to $5,000 instead of 1,000 or 2,000, no fucking brainer. Okay? I want you to think real quick. Take note. What are the no-brainer decisions that might be coming to your head right now that you could easily add to contribute to the bigger revenue goal? Anything come to mind? Take a moment and write it down. Really think about this one. What are the no fucking brainers to what you're currently doing that you could add to it, that you could tweak, that you could change? Something that's just like, I can't even believe I didn't fucking do that before. It's that obvious. Does anybody have questions on this? Anything you guys want to add, contribute? Comments? No? All right, cool. We're going to go have lunch then. We'll hang out until, we'll just call it an hour. We'll be back in here at 1:45.